Good morning and welcome back to How to Write Science Fiction That Doesn't Suck. I'm Rick Partlow, and if you got to this point you probably know who I am and what I've written, so I won't go over that again. Today I just wanted to do kind of a year in review. I started doing this YouTube series when I was living in Florida, and a lot's changed since then. Now I'm not going to go into craft really today as much as productivity, what I've accomplished, what I think you can accomplish. So it's near the end of the year. It's December 16th. Hard to keep track. I am now living in northern Wyoming, rural area. The downside to that is until I get Starlink, my internet is a little on the slow side. This video will probably take a couple of hours to upload to YouTube. That's how slow the internet is. But hopefully, knock on wood, getting Starlink. Oh, there goes my dogs. They think somebody's at the door. Hopefully I'll get Starlink next month. They said it'll be in the area next month. So the only downside is, aside from that, is the lack of, things like Home Depot or Lowe's and having to order a few more things online. But really, I wish I'd moved out here years ago. And you'd think that living out here, apart from distraction, that I would have got a lot more done, writing-wise. But the truth is, this is the kind of area where I like to do outdoor stuff. I like to do wildlife photography, so I actually have been more distracted. But I'm still, I'm kind of trying to balance, living the life I want to live with making the money I need to make to stay here. So let's look at what I've got accomplished this year. I am over 50,000 words into the 9th book in the Drop Trooper series, which I have to get done by the end of the year, and I should be able to. It's only going to be about an 80,000 word book, so I have plenty of time to get that finished. And once I get that finished, I will have completed 10 novels this year, along, I think, with 2 short stories. I think it was 2 short stories, and written somewhere between 900 and 950,000 words. Not a million like last year, but I told myself after writing 12 books and 1 million words last year that I was going to take a break and maybe do 8 books and 800,000 words this year. That didn't work out because of commitments, and it's still nearly 1 million. And, I feel like I didn't really kill myself any particular month this year. 2020, when I did 1 million words and a dozen books, I felt often like I was killing myself. And it's amazing how just that, 70 or 80,000 word difference really makes a difference as far as every day. I've been doing 3,000 to 4,000 words a day mostly. 4,000 is the goal, and I make it a lot of the time, but sometimes I stop at 3 if things, happen, if life happens. I had a move thrown in, and that slowed me down. And yet I feel like just that small difference really took a load of stress off me. And this is going to seem like, a lot of writing to some people. I mean, people who haven't done this full time, who haven't been doing it for as long, they look at that many words a day for that many days and they say, oh my God, I could never do that. Well, you can't. That's why I'm here to tell you, is you can do that. It's not impossible. I'm not. People say, oh, you're a machine. I'm not a machine. It's not that hard. It's not like if 800,000 words for me would be an easy year. It's not really a incredible amount. The only difference between me and somebody out there who's like, I can't do that, is you have to do it every day. I don't write that many words a day. There's some people that'll write 10,000 words a day, and they'll do that for 4 days, and then they'll stop for a week. And that works for them, but that's not how I work. I work by writing 2,000 to 4,000 words a day every single day. I don't take breaks for holidays. I don't take breaks for the weekend. I don't take breaks for my birthday. The only time that I don't write, basically, is if I am in Yellowstone or one of the parks for a couple weeks doing wildlife photography in the spring, because I'll be out so late and up so early, there's just no time. But aside from that, I do not take breaks from writing. And people say that sounds tedious, but I love writing. And if you love writing, that's the key. Do you want to do this? Is this something that you are drawn to? And if it is, then it's not a job, and you shouldn't feel like doing it every day is tedious. I mean, some of you probably work out every day. I mean, maybe you feel that's tedious. You do it anyway because you know you need to. It's possible you can do the same thing with writing, but I don't know, because for some people there's just too big of a difference between something you do because it's good for you and something you do to make money, even though making money is going to be good for you in the long run. But for me, I love writing. I love telling stories. So writing every day is not tedious. Now, it may be tedious getting out the number of words I need to get out every day. I may be tired by the end and just wanting to go to bed. But the lower range, like 2,000 words a day, that's not tedious. That's easy. And I feel like I've accomplished something at 2,000 words a day. Not enough, given the number of commitments I have, but I feel like if I've written 2,000 words a day in a day, I feel like I haven't wasted the day. That I've done enough in that day. So you need to find that number for you, because it's going to be different. I mean, 2,000 is a good round number. It can accomplish a lot in a year. That's like not quite 800,000 words a year. Maybe if you like go over a little bit, you can get to 800,000 words in a year, and that's a good amount of words. That's like depending on how long your books are, that's between 7 to 10 books in a year. That's not bad at all. But the key question is, can you do that every day? Some people say they need a break from writing, and I don't know. I don't feel guilty when I'm not writing. I don't feel like it's a duty that I have to do, but I feel kind of empty when I don't write in a day. And I think if you feel the same way, that you can make this happen. You can do the everyday thing. So now comes the question of, if you write 2,000 words a day every day and you get those 700 or 800,000 words in a year, are those words going to be quality? And that's the other complaint that I hear, or concern that I hear from people about writing that much every day, is they're like, I'm just going to be puking out these words and I'm not going to be making quality prose at that speed. Well, that comes back to two things. One is practice. The longer you do this and the more words you write, the more likely it is that those 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever you write in a day words are going to be quality. Because like everything else, practice improves your art. I mean, whether you're a football player or a mechanic or a writer, the more you do it, the longer you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Now, that's not to say that just writing for a long time is going to make you good. There's an old saying that perfect practice makes perfect. You do need to grow in your art, but assuming that you make the effort to grow, and you're watching this, so you're interested in craft. So if you make the effort to get better at your craft, then the practice you're doing will get better as well. They say it takes 1 million words to get anywhere near like publishable as an author. That the first 1 million words you can just throw out, that they're not going to be any good. So if you haven't hit that 1 million words, it's a lot easier to hit it if you write every day. You can get it done in a year or a year and a half, and then get to the words that you're going to keep. A lot of people who try to do this for a living have written those 1 million words when they're younger, because this is a calling they have. It's something that they've been doing since they were little kids. Like me, I've been writing since I was 3 or 4. Ever since I learned to write, I was writing stories. And that helps because I got that 1 million words out of the way by the time I was a teenager. I mean, I wasn't writing 2,000 words a day as a kid, but by the time I was a teenager, yeah, I'd written 1 million words. Now, that's not to say that just because I wrote those 1 million words that everything else I wrote was good, but it was the start. It helped me to work my way out of the basic problems you run into when you first start to try to write. Okay, so about 900,000 words, 10 novels this year, and next year I have already committed to writing probably 9 minimum that I've committed to writing already this year. And that's one of the things, if you get successful, people are going to want you to write more for them. And you have to be able to decide when to say no. And unfortunately, that can be really difficult. It takes a lot of experience and a lot of painful experience sometimes before you know which offers to say no to. And I recommend asking, when you get an offer from somebody, to write for them. I mean, especially in the indie circle where you're working with small publishers, people who want to collaborate with you. You have to check and make sure that this is somebody legitimate, somebody that doesn't screw over the people they work with. If you're traditional, well, there's a lot of small publishing houses in the traditional circle that, and some of them treat their writers better than others. And just because somebody's a traditional publisher doesn't mean they won't screw you over. So if you are all psyched because you have an offer from a traditional publisher, you should check into them first, because there's all kinds of imprints out there, and some of them are even associated with the big publishing houses, the big 4 now, or is it 5? Still 5? I don't know, but I think that the buyout got canceled by the Trade Commission, so I think it's still 5. So even ones that are associated with the big 5 still screw their authors over. I know maybe a lot of people can't afford an attorney to look at the contract they're offered, but if you can, you should. And if you can't, you should do a lot of research about that house and see how they've treated their other writers. But even if everybody who offers you a deal, who wants you to write a book with them or for them, is legitimate, you can't say yes to all of them. because you only have a certain amount of time in the day. So that's the other thing you have to research is of the people who are legitimate, who are not trying to screw you over, which of them know what they're doing? What's their track record? Do they have a lot of books in the top 100, top 1,000, top 10,000? You need to find out how successful their authors have been. Again, I'm kind of going far afield from the craft part of the presentation, but it's relevant to the experience I've had this year where I have said yes to a lot of things. And some of them I said yes to last year, and I'm still, delivering on those. So I would recommend that you do not say yes to multiple offers until you are comfortable in your production schedule. Until you have like a habit, a routine set up where I can definitely get this many words a month or a year. I can definitely get this many books written. Because if you make promises you can't keep, then you are going to create a reputation for yourself as unreliable. And being unreliable as a writer is far worse than being mediocre. Because mediocre writers can still make money if they're productive. Some people would say that's me. I don't know. You make the decision if you read my stuff. But if you are liable, if you are productive, you can still make money, even if you're not the best writer in the world. But if you are unreliable, if you make promises you can't keep, then nobody's going to want to work with you. And sometimes it can be like professional sports in a way where somebody who has been unreliable for one team or publisher or co-author, collaborator, is picked up by another because they think, oh, maybe it was them. Maybe it was the people they were working with that they didn't like, that didn't get along with. And then it bites those other people in the ass too. So, it is a business. Even though we're here talking about the art of it, it's a business. And unless you are self-publishing all on your own, getting your own covers, hiring your own editors, doing your own marketing, unless you are, and even then you still have to be reliable for your readers, but unless you're doing that, you have to be able to deliver on the timelines that you said you would. Even if you're just self-publishing, your readers might get tired of the fact that you aren't getting the books out when you said you would. But they're a little more forgiving. But if you're working with somebody who's putting their money on the line and saying, you write the book and I'm going to do the marketing and I'm going to make this big splash about your launch, and then you don't deliver the book on time, they're not going to want to work with you after this. And I've seen it happen again and again. Somebody signs a contract for a trilogy, for example. That's usually how it starts when you're working with small publishers. They want the first 3 books. And they don't just want the first 3 books to see if they're well written, although that's part of it. They want the first 3 books to see if you can deliver 3 books when you say you will. And if you deliver those 3 books in the series and they sell fairly well, then they'll want you to write more. Even if it's not the best-selling thing in the world, just having a long series is profitable. And if you can show people that you can write a long series and be consistent with not just your delivery of the books, but their quality, they don't go downhill quickly, then you can have a career in this. But if you flake out and you don't deliver when you say you will, then they're going to get tired of working with you. I mean, if the books do like super well, even if you flaked out, they might work with you anyway. But if they're just doing mediocre and you aren't delivering them on time, you're gone. So know yourself, know your productivity. Know what you can deliver without, giving yourself a nervous breakdown. I'm kind of a rare case. I don't have any kids living with me. I don't have a day job. I don't have a lot of other distractions, so I can get a lot of words done. You may not be in that position. You may be, in a situation where you have young children and you have to drive around. And even that's not impossible. I wrote a lot of my books while I was waiting for my daughter at soccer practice, so it's not impossible. But say you have to be really involved in your kid's life and you have a job you have to go to. Well, maybe you can only do like 3 books a year, 2 books a year. And that, if that's what you can deliver, that's fine. That's what you can do for now. Now you may be able to get to the point where you can squeeze more writing in. I know people who have full-time jobs and kids that still write, 6, 7 books a year. They get up, an hour before everyone else does, and they just crank out 3,000 words in an hour. Or they'll dictate on the way to work. Or like I said, you're waiting in the car at soccer practice for your daughter. You have a laptop with you or a tablet, and you crank out 1,000 words or 2,000 words at soccer practice. Really, all that is planning, and that comes to our next thing on the list. Is not just being ready to take advantage of that time. You need to have a plan. You need to have an outline. Now, a lot of people write without outlines, and I think they really are doing it with the outline, but the outline's in their head. But for me, if you want to be productive, you have to have a complete outline. There's books that I did not write as long of an outline. For instance, Drop Trooper 9, the one I'm working on now. I didn't write as long and detailed an outline because I'm like, this is the 9th book in the series. I don't have to go into the heads of every character and give them motivations. I already know these characters. And yet I find that at certain points in the book, the fact that I don't have as detailed outline is making it slower to write. I would recommend, if productivity is something that you are interested in, if it's something you want to get more practice with, you have to write a very detailed outline. And when I say detailed, I mean for an 80,000 word novel, you should have probably an 8,000 word outline. For a 100,000 words novel, maybe a 12,000 word outline. You should have a chapter by chapter detail of every part of that book. In your chapter, you should have what's going to happen, who's going to do it, what point of view every scene is told from, and go back and fill in things like what's the temperature? Are they cold? Are they hot? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Is it raining? Is there a smell that they all smell in this scene? Or is there a business nearby with bright shining neon lights that everybody sees and it colors the scene? Things like that. Every detail that you can think of for this scene, you should put it down in the outline. So when the time comes that you are trying to squeeze in that hour before everybody woke up, or that hour or 2 hours while your kid is in soccer practice, or if you're dictating on the way to work, you don't have to think about what's going to be next. You don't have to sit there at the keyboard and think, okay, what's going to happen in this scene? What does everything look like? What's the temperature? You already know all this stuff. You just have to write down the words. It's almost like writing a very, very rough first draft. That's the ideal outline, is a very rough first draft with no dialogue. So in my experience, that is going to allow you to be more productive. Some people will just say they can't do without lines, that it makes it not fun or it robs it of imagination for them. But in my opinion, the outline is the part where you use your imagination. It's the part that's fun. It's the part where you come up with twists and turns and surprises. And the writing it's the work. I mean, it's the grunt work of the whole scenario, that you've already gotten those twists and turns and shocks, and writing it is making it so other people can read those. Maybe that makes it too much work for some people, and I get that. I was there myself at one point, but if you want to do this as a profession, then you're going to have to get to the point where you don't mind doing the work. And there's an art to it as well. There's a smoothness that you can put into your prose that is a separate effort apart from the plotting and the background. Okay, so that is how I got to 10 books and over 900,000 words this year, and 12 books and 1 million words last year. You have to be prepared. You have to come up with a time that you can write. You have to not overpromise. Make sure you can deliver. And this is something that I have a problem with sometimes, and I'm working on it, but you have to not be intimidated by the expectations. Like I said, I've got 9 books I have to write next year. Probably all of them next year. I mean, there might be 1 or 2 that could slip past into 2023, but I have to write 2 more books in the Earth at War series. I have to write 2 more books in the series that I am doing with Jeff Cheney. I have to write 3 more books in the Dropshipper series. And I have to write 3 books in a new series that I am doing for Athon Books. So that's 9 books. And like I said, maybe 1 or 2 will slip to 2023. But I've committed to them all. And I know that I can write 9 books next year. I wrote 10 this year. I wrote 12 the year before. So it's not as if it's unachievable. But, it can be intimidating. You have to look at that as not as something that you have to do all at once. You have to just slice it up into chunks and start on chunk 1 at step 1 and just keep doing it. You cannot get lost in the forest of looking at everything you have to do and letting that intimidate you. So, if you're in a position where you are being asked to make commitments to write for people, I would say that unless you've gotten to the point where your career is taking off and you don't need to say yes to all those, and I don't know that you'll be listening to this video if you're at that point. You probably have, your own thing going on, making your own videos. But if you're not at that point, then you need to say yes as often as you can and still produce, as long as it's something that's going to, be good for your career. Try not to be somebody who says no too much. I mean, you have to say no sometimes, but try to say yes as much as you think you can do it, because being available and reliable can help build your career. It's something where if you say no too often, people are going to stop asking you. And you can't say no. You can't say no and you can't say yes and then not deliver. But you need to say yes as often as you feel comfortable with. Don't make no your automatic. At some point in your career, you will make no your automatic. At some point, you have to be able to prioritize and tell people, I can't do this. I've got too many commitments. I had to do that this year. I've had to tell people who are good people, who are honest, who would make me money if I said yes to them. I just can't do it this year. I've got 9 books I have to write in 2022, and I cannot commit to write anymore. I mean, there's physical limitations. So maybe in 2023, I can say yes to those offers. But people know that I'm not flaky, that I'm not turning them down because I can't produce. It's just, if you've done well enough, you're going to get a lot of offers, and you can only say yes to so many of them. Okay. So I hope that you guys have a great Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, and a very happy New Year. I will try to get another video in before the end of the year, but I can't promise for sure because I have family coming up. It has been a really cool experience making this YouTube series, and I hope to keep doing it if I can come up with any more subjects that I really want to talk about. If you guys have anything that you want me to talk about, if you have ideas that you would like to hear from me, feel free to ask in the comments, or you can email me at dutyhonorplanet487@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/dutyhonorplanet. That's DUTYHONORPLANET, like the first book I ever wrote for publication. All right, and have a really good holiday, and I will probably see you next year.